Hello, and welcome to the AP US History review course. My name is Linda McKinstry, and I want to give you a little bit of background about myself, as well as a little bit background about how the AP review course will be run. Personally, I taught for over 40 years and retired a couple of years ago from full-time work. During the course of my career, I taught at a junior high level, at the high school level, at the community college level, but spent most of my career teaching at the high school level. While there, I taught the AP US History course for over 20 years. I also attended the AP reading for several years, which gave me a very good understanding of exactly what readers are looking for on the short answer and essay portions of the AP exam. My education consists of an undergraduate degree in social studies education and a graduate degree in US history. On a personal note, I enjoy reading um, history books by authors such as David McCullough, and especially mysteries by people such as Agatha Christie. I enjoy watching classic movies. My favorite is Casablanca. And I also enjoy traveling, and I hope to get back to that when it is safe to do so. But enough about me. I'd like to explain to you a little bit as to how the AP review course will be set up and how it will um, help to teach students how to handle, in particular, the free response portion of the exam. The AP curriculum is divided into 9 parts, and the exam itself is divided into 2 parts. The first part consists of short answer questions and multiple choice questions. The second part consists of the essay portion of the exam, both long essay questions and document-based question. This particular question is, as you can see, a short answer question taken from the 2019 exam. On the short answer portion of the exam, you will almost always find at least one question that uses a visual of some kind, a picture, graph, a chart, a map, because these are things that historians deal with, and they want to see how a history student would deal with these documents as well. This particular question, we would start by taking a look at the document itself to see what it tells us. The elements in the document are there to help give you clues, to help you to be able to answer the questions below it. So if you take a look at the document, at the top it says the March of Destiny. That should remind you of the idea of manifest destiny, which was the belief by Americans that they had the God-given right to expand basically from sea to shining sea. And that is why the inset of Kentucky is there. It represents the one side of the country, and the other inset, California, to represent the other side of the country. You should also notice that the wagons and the settlers are moving toward what is a rising sun, implying that westward expansion is a very positive thing, that the settlers will bring with them ideas and beliefs such as those about democracy and freedom, and that this will improve life for the country and for the people who already are living on these lands. So that's the document itself. And then we want to take a look at the questions that you need to answer using that document. You'll notice that the questions are set up as a statement. They will always be set up that way. You will never find a question with a question mark. Everything will be simply worded as a statement. You should also notice that the words explain and describe are in each of those questions. You will never, ever be asked to simply list something. If you list an idea, a person, a thought, you have to then explain, discuss, analyze how what you listed helps to answer the question that you are being asked. Because the biggest mistake that students make on the free response portion of the exam is they do not answer the question. It's not to say they haven't put words down. It means they haven't addressed the question that is stated. They've addressed instead what they wished or hoped would be the question. So question number 1 says, briefly describe one historical perspective expressed in the image. Being as these questions are set up as A, B, and C, that's exactly how they should be answered. There is no need to write in paragraph form. By doing an ABC listing, you are more likely to make sure that you've answered all parts of the question. So question A wants a historical perspective. You already know from looking at the document that this is the idea of Western expansion, manifest destiny. So possibly a historical perspective could be the idea of manifest destiny, explaining how this was tied to Western expansion and presented a positive image for settlers and for the country at large. However, because there is a rising sun, you might also refer to the idea of city upon a hill, which was a Puritan idea that the United States would be set up to show others how you should live, what values are important and worthwhile, and that would be a valid example as well. Just make sure that you explain how your example is tied to what the document is depicting. Number 2, part B, says explain how one specific event, development, idea from 1800 to 1850 contributed to this idea of Western expansion. Again, you don't want to just list. You want to put an idea or thought down and then explain how this helped to encourage Western expansion. So, for example, you might use the Mexican-American War. It was fought in 1848. And at the end, the United States signed a treaty with Mexico, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, that basically gave the United States about 1/3 of the land that had belonged to Mexico. This encouraged people to settle in an open area. It would bring them opportunities and help to make the country strong. However, you might also refer to the gold rush in 1849, which not only People rushed for gold, but also brought a rush of settlers to California, so that by 1850, California was petitioning to become a state in the United States. Either example is valid as long as you explain how the example shows what is being depicted in the picture. Question number 3, part C, asks you to explain one historical effect from 1844 to 1890 that resulted from Western expansion. Again, note the word explain. You also want to note the time period, 1844 to 1890. You need to stay somewhere within that time period. Again, it's not the specific example that is an issue, as long as your example was in that time period and you can explain how this was a result of the idea of Western expansion. For example, you might again reference the Mexican-American War as more and more settlers moved into territory in Texas, which the Mexicans claimed was still their land. It helped to create tension between the United States and Mexico and eventually lead to the Mexican-American War. However, if you use the Mexican-American War as an example in question 2, you want to choose something different. So you could also choose something from what is referred to as the antebellum period, which is before the Civil War, and that the acquisition of land by the United States caused slavery to become an even more significant issue than it had been previously, as the Congress argued whether a new state would be a slave state or a free state, which was tied to the idea of representatives and senators in the Congress. And this debate led to things such as the Wilmot Proviso. It led to the Kansas-Nebraska Act, both of these which helped to lead to the Civil War. That is what I mean by an explanation. You don't just list, there was the Kansas-Nebraska Act, or there was the Wilmot Proviso. If you do not explain how that result is tied to the idea of Western expansion, then you will not receive credit for the question. What you should have noticed is that there is no one absolute right choice for items in any 3 of the questions. It's up to you to decide which example is most significant and which one you can best tie to the question that is being asked. So the good news is you don't need to know every single thing about US history. What you should notice as you're reviewing are significant ideas. Take a look at back questions from the exam, see which topics are stressed. For example, there are quite a few questions having to do with the Revolutionary War. That's a big topic. Look for turning points, look for dates that maybe are not the beginning of a decade or a century. Usually, if they're not, then the date is there for some specific reason. It's meant to ring a bell for you so that you can use that to help you to answer a particular question. I hope that this has helped you to understand how the AP review course will be set up. And I hope that you will enjoy the course and learn how to best and most effectively respond, especially to the free response questions in the AP exam. And I love history, especially US history. And I hope to see you during the course and that you too will come to love US history as much as I do. Thank you for your time.